Good morning, Sean.
Joshua.
There you go. Get your head in the screen. You were cut off there.
Oh, hold on.
See that beautiful mug of yours. What?
We get to turn off the volume sometimes.
Amateur hour. Amateur hour on Fridays.
Listen, you get what you pay for.
Touche. So happy Friday morning. We're back with another episode of Caffeinated Q&A. I think we're on episode 27 now. So that's fun. We're gonna make it to 100. We're gonna make it to 100. We might have to do more a week to get there, but we're gonna make it. So I'm gonna mention this again because it's happened a few times the last few weeks, and we still haven't figured out what the problem is. But if you are on the live stream prior to the live stream starting on Facebook, so you go kind of in the queue, for some reason at 8 minutes in, it's kicking you out and telling you that the live stream never started. To fix it, you just have to go back to the Facebook page and click on the live stream that's running, and it'll be fine. It appears to be a problem on Facebook's end, but I'm not certain about that, so we're trying to track it down. But if it kicks you out, I apologize. Just go back to the live stream, and we are still here. So on Friday on our shows, what we've been doing, I hope it's helpful, is we've been throwing out some news stories and just talking about them and seeing how they're relevant to the small business owners and individuals like yourselves, to kind of look at what's going on in the market from big companies and how they're thinking about things and how we can maybe use those ideas to learn from them, maybe copy them, maybe learn what not to do. So a couple interesting news stories from this week is I'm a huge fan of Audible. When my life got super busy, I transitioned out of reading books. As much as I love a good hardcover, I switched over to Audible, and I do most of my consumption via audio, whether that's books or podcasts or whatever. And so this news story caught my eye that Audible has created this new ad campaign called Fly Audible. And they are essentially like simulating, they made this like fictional airline, and they're like simulating these very retro airline ads and talking about Fly Audible. And it's all very strange to me. I read an article with the CEO, and he said, they've gone off of their normal path to try this, and they think people are itching for travel right now. And it all just seems very strange. So this is an example where I'm putting something out there where maybe I'm missing something. Maybe you guys see the ads and you're like, those are amazing. But for me as a customer of Audible, I look at it and I'm like, man, I think they really missed the mark on that. Time will tell. I mean, the ads may do well, but I think this is an example of, again, companies like Audible, which is owned by Amazon. They are trying things, and it might work and it might not. So for me as a customer, it's a turnoff. It's probably not going to stop me from using their service. But they're willing to try it and risk fracturing their brand. A lot of big brands will not. Their primary objective is to not fracture their brand. So although I wouldn't necessarily go down this path, they probably have people a lot smarter than me working for them, and it very well could pay off. But no matter what, I appreciate the guts it takes for a company like Audible to go out and try a new campaign that they know could flop, knowingly, doesn't fit in with what their typical core message is. So I think that's really, really interesting. So then the other news story is Netflix. It's about Netflix, and Netflix is now up to 193 million subscribers worldwide. 193 million. And so Netflix is an example. There's lots of these streaming platforms. I think, Sean, you use Vudu. Is that correct for some of your streaming?
I use Netflix, Disney Plus, Vudu. Vudu is more a platform like when you buy movies and you want the digital version.
Yeah.
So I use all those.
Okay. So we don't have cable, and we use Amazon Prime, Netflix. We use Disney Plus. And so it's interesting to see where there's a lot of attention there. Obviously, Netflix with 193 million subscribers, there's a lot of attention there. And Sean has talked before about how the CEO of Netflix said that their biggest competitor is sleep. So you can see where they're headed with gaining attention. But it's very interesting to see Netflix doesn't offer commercials on their platform. So it's a paid platform and they don't offer commercials, which a lot of people are like, well, of course not. You're paying for it, but you're also paying for cable TV and there's still commercials there. So it's really just a stance that Netflix is taking where they're saying, nope, we're not going to offer commercials. What they do, though, is they do offer product placement, and they've I believe, based on some news stories that I read, they reach out to big companies and ask them for advertising money for product placement in their shows. So it's interesting. But the point I want to make here is that there's a lot of these streaming services out there, and the attention is obviously there. I don't feel like, especially small business owners, are digging into and thinking about what it would look like to advertise on some of these streaming platforms. YouTube pre-roll is probably the lowest bar to entry when it comes to creating video ads, meaning you can get them up and running for cheap. I honestly don't know what the advertising costs look like on like Hulu and those places. Typically, the way it works is all of these companies will open themselves up to big companies first and let them try it, and then start opening it up to smaller companies as well. But I think it's something that should be on small business radar, because if not, you're going to wait too long and the prices are going to be through the roof and you're never going to be able to afford it. And then it's going to be just as clogged up as TV. So you're competing against everyone else. But we're not there yet. I feel like we're a little bit away from small businesses being able to advertise there, but I think it's something that should definitely be on the on small business radar. And we're going to start digging into it a little bit more just to see what it looks like and what the options are. And we'll try to provide some feedback there. So today, well, first of all, I'm just going to remind you guys up front, you can go to our email list, ghostcreative.com/live, sign up for the email list. We'll send out a weekly email with some hopefully informative information about the show. We'll talk about what's coming up next week on the show. And we will, like I said, we send those out once a week. We don't bombard you with email, and we're going to talk about that in just a second. The other thing is, we're here every Tuesday and Friday at 9 a.m. So if you're new, know that we're on Facebook Live every Tuesday and Friday at 9 a.m. So I hope to see you there, 9 a.m. Eastern. But we're going to dive into email. So let's talk about email marketing. This is something that it's common enough that I'm sure all of you have heard of it. It's also uncommon enough that a lot of people are not doing it enough or not doing it well. So we want to just give you a kind of a quick primer on email. And as always, Sean, feel free to jump in and interrupt me at any time if you have input. But I'm a little bit of a nerd, so I like to start at the beginning and talk about where email marketing came from. So email marketing was being done long before you probably got signed up for an email list that you didn't want to be on. Like 1994, like 90s, people were really starting to get into email marketing. And so with email marketing, it started like every other form of marketing. Attention was there. And so marketers said, how can we ruin this? How can we just bombard people and try to beat them over the head until they buy, right? And so that, with radio, with television, once the attention was there, people started advertising on the platforms. I just talked about it with streaming services, right? The attention is there, so you need to start thinking about advertising there. TikTok offers advertising now. The attention is there. They started offering advertising. Email was no different. It fell right into that same exact channel where people were spending time in their email inbox. People were opening every email that came to them. And so marketers said, how can we use this? And how can we start to market products there? And some people did it the right way. The email was kind of the invention, maybe not the invention, but the best implementation of permission marketing, where prior to, if you were listening to the radio or you're listening to TV, you don't get to tell them what ads you want to hear. Right in the middle of your show, they stop it and they say, hey, we have this thing you should go buy. That's called interruption marketing. That's how a lot of marketing works. That's how just about all bad marketing works. Telemarketing being the one that we're most annoyed with. But email marketing went a different route. They said, first of all, email does not have to be an interruption channel. It didn't used to be. Now we treat it like it's on demand, but it didn't used to be. And so with email marketing, what they did was said, okay, what you can do is sign up for our advertisements if you want them. And if you want them, we will send them to you, right? That's how email marketing, that's the right way to still do email marketing, not the way a lot of people were doing it back then, where they would buy an email list, and it still happens, and just bombard you with emails that you didn't want. So email really started down this path of allowable permission marketing, and it's been kind of a rough ride, because our email inboxes are getting so bombarded now. Because even if I give someone permission, the content that they're sending me might not be useful. So the way we look at email marketing is the way we look at every other piece of marketing that you do. You should be adding value first. So I'm talking about these marketers that are bombarding you with ads. It's like, buy now, buy within the next 24 hours. There's a time and place for that. Every single email that you send should not be that, right? So your email needs to be able to add value. So Sean has mentioned several times, jab, 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 right hook, talking about add value, add value, add value, add value, then ask. And so your email marketing campaign needs to be set up the same. You need to be adding value. What is it that you can provide to your customers via email that will deepen the relationship with them? Not benefit just you, but what will benefit the person that is receiving the email. So if I get an email from you on a Tuesday morning, what did you put in that email that helps me? Not that helps you, because running an ad telling me I get 10% off, you might think that helps me, but it really helps you, because the 10% off is just so that I'll come pay you money, right? I'm not saying I'm against it. I'm just saying that is not, don't think that because you gave someone a discount that you are helping them. Discounts are great. And they're a great way to get people's attention. But in the end, a discount helps the business more than it helps the individual. And so what are you putting in your email marketing campaign that is purely adding value to your customer and not adding value, not necessarily adding immediate value for you? That's how you need to be thinking about your email marketing campaigns. Now, sometimes that is telling people about your product. Sometimes people love your product, they need your product, and telling them about your product is the right approach. That does not mean that the intention is just to sell products over and over and over and over again. You get those emails, I get those emails. Nobody says, I wish I would get more of those. It's just not happening. We talk a lot about frequency. And when we talk about social media, we talk about at least once a day on your platforms, ideally 3 times a day on your platforms. Don't do that with email. Sean, would you love to get emails 3 times a day from the same company?
Yeah.
You are not the majority. Email marketing.
I love spammed email.
The problem
is send people 47 emails a day.
If somebody in our audience wants to try that, I would love to know how it goes. The problem with email, though, is that it all builds up, right? It backs up in our inbox. Social media ads do not back up. They don't get in the way of all your other posts, and you have to sort through all of them to be able to see the post that you want to see. Whether it's a post or whether it's a paid ad on social media, it doesn't work like that. With email, it builds up, right? And so you don't necessarily want to send out emails too often, because they're going to build up. And especially if you're not adding value, you're just going to annoy your customers. You're not going to make them want to do business with you. So we would recommend. Okay.
Should there always be a call to action included? For example, I provide value by sending out short videos to my list along with a short note. Should there be a, hey, if you want more, schedule with me, here's the link?
Yeah, so if you listen to me long enough, you'll probably hear me land on both sides of this, because I think it's very dependent on the audience that you have and the product that you have and the service that you're offering. Generally, I would say if you're going to put a call to action in all of your emails, and it's a consistent call to action, put it at the bottom, right? Don't make it the headline, because that's going to wear people out. And you're going to get customer fatigue at that point, when every time they get an email right at the top, you're asking them to go do something. So if you are always going to include a call to action, and I'm not opposed to it, put the always call to action at the bottom and add the value at the top. Now, if you are trying to introduce a new service, or you have a new product that you want to let people know about, put that at the top, right? Like, do that, put that call to action right at the top. Let people know why you're sending the email. But if you're going to put a consistent call to action, for example, like the one you said, if you want more, schedule with me, here's the link. I would put that at the bottom. The people that need it will find it. Where people go wrong is they put the headline of, save 20% today. And I get that email 7 times a week. Right. And so that's what you want to avoid. Having a call to action is not bad. It's just where you put it will change the perception of it.
Here's where I am a little different. I think the idea behind a lot of this stuff is to get people in position where they're ready to do more with whatever you're trying to do. And so I think the easier you make it for those people when they're ready, the better. And it's really hard to gauge like, this person's going to be exactly ready to take a next step here. So I think always include a next step in whatever you're doing, whether that's a simple link to just like, hey, schedule time with me, or click this link that takes you to an article that dives a little deeper into the content I just talked about. I think always having a next step so that if someone's ready to dive deeper with you, it's easy for them to do that, because if they have to go somewhere else to do that, they'll easily get distracted with something else and then they won't come back to it. And so I think the more that you can make it easy for people to take next steps pretty much in everything that you do, the better, which goes a little bit against what Josh just said. But yeah, I agree. Don't make it the focal point, but it should also be very, very, very easy and clear what the next step is if people are willing and ready to take it.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Sean, because think about your call to action really, really in depth, whether or not that call to action is an ask or a give. So what Sean is talking about when he's talking about, here's another article to learn more about that, that's a give, right? Like you're not asking them to do something that is taking away from the relationship, but you're saying, hey, if you're interested in this, here's more that you can go learn about it. And Sean's exactly right. Making sure that next step is clear is very important. And if you can add more depth by saying, hey, if you want more depth to go here, that's a fantastic idea. Good point, Sean. Cool. Great question, Lois. Thank you. So we were talking about how often, and I said, we would recommend, generally speaking, and again, this is going to vary widely based on industry and your specific business and your clients, knowing how often they want to hear from you. But as a general rule, we say once a week. Send an email once a week. You can do more than that. You can do less than that. It's really, again, highly dependent on your audience and your product and your services and kind of how your overall objectives are structured, how often you want to do it.
Well, and I think at times it's specific to what interaction you just had with someone. So like we work with people who sell products. If you purchase a product, absolutely they should be receiving an email for that. If someone ordered something and there's shipping information that needs to be sent, like that once a week, no, they should be receiving emails for those kinds of things. And so again, if someone like books a service with you, they should be receiving an email, and that can include things like, hey, here's how you can prepare. Like that can be a series of emails. Like it's okay to do that a little bit more frequently, but there should be a very, very, very clear reason for it.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a big difference between like an email marketing campaign where I know that we're going to hit your inbox every day for the next 14 days versus responsive emails where somebody placed an order and now we're sending you the email confirmation that you got the order. And so that's again, another good point, Sean, that like you might get more than one email a week. So I should have been more clear when I'm talking about getting one email a week. It's like if you're designing a campaign where you're initiating the emails to go out, sending them out every day, you better have a really good reason to do it. To Sean's point, if you're sending responsive emails like someone placed an order or their order shipped and they're getting those ones, those are informative. So I wouldn't count those towards my one email a week at that point because users group those differently, right? Like when I get an email from a company saying your order shipped, I don't see that as, oh my gosh, they're annoying me again with an ad, because I know that, I initiated that email by placing the order. So good point.
Well, just be aware, like sorry, I'm going to cut you off again. A lot of email platforms, when you send out email, will have things in place. Like if they've received an email in the last 16 hours, don't send this email. I think just like being conscious that it's okay to have those kind of emails send and still send the like once a week email or whatever.
Yeah.
So be aware that like certain platforms will try to filter those out so you're not spamming people too much. But it's cool to do that.
Yep. Yeah. So we're going to talk. That's a great transition, Sean, because I want to talk specifically about the email platform that we use. Again, no affiliate links, because when a better platform comes out, we want to be able to change our mind and not have money influence that. So,
although if someone would want to pay us to talk about their platform, no, I'm kidding. kidding. Like Sean's retirement fund.
Sean, you should set up your own affiliate link. Just the Sean Hogue affiliate link, not associated with Ghost Creative. This is Sean Hogue's.
Really derailing the conversation. But what would you do if I just showed up to a show and had like 14 different like sponsors I had to plug just for the entire show?
One, I would not be surprised.
Right, keep going. Completely irrelevant. Keep going.
So we're gonna the email marketing platform we use to help us manage a lot of that stuff, frequency, all of that stuff, is we use a platform called Klaviyo, and it is currently, I think it's one of the best platforms out there. We used to recommend MailChimp. MailChimp got really confusing when they changed their business model. And so we started switching over to Klaviyo. Now, Klaviyo does have a free plan. They do have a free tier. It can get pricey depending on how big your list is. I believe their free tier goes up to 250 subscribers. Beyond that, you have to pay for it. But the primary reason that we use Klaviyo now is because they handle very seamlessly automation and integration. And by that, I mean, they connect directly with platforms like Facebook. If you're an e-commerce store, they connect directly with platforms like Shopify. And they are able to share information between the two. So that when somebody's customer profile changes on Shopify, that customer profile will also be updated in Klaviyo, so there's no manual management. And that's important to know. Well, let me come back to that. Also, the automations. So you want to have the most updated information so that your automations can be correct. It goes back to the thing that Sean just pointed out. If I know that Shopify just sent you an email or just sent you 2 emails, Klaviyo is smart enough to know that. And if we have the setting saying, hey, don't send someone an email if they've received one in the last 24 hours, then we don't have to manually adjust that. That automation is taken care of for us in Klaviyo. And so how would you get started? I like to leave you guys with practical tips. So how would you get started with email marketing using Klaviyo? There are a few things. One, you need a sign-up form. This is pretty obvious. If you want to have an email list, you have to give people a way to sign up for the email list. With Klaviyo, they offer email form or sign-up forms. You can create them right in Klaviyo and put them on your website. Depending on the platform, it will actually integrate and put the sign-up form on your website for you. So, for example, with Klaviyo, you can connect it to your Shopify site, create the sign-up form in Klaviyo, and Klaviyo will put the form on your site and monitor it for you. There's no coding. There's nothing you have to do on Shopify. Klaviyo will do all of that for you. So again, one of the things we love about it. But create a sign-up form. We live in a world today where you almost have to offer something in trade for someone's email address. Now, the purists in the crowd would say, like, nope, you just tell them what you believe in. Like I say a lot, what you believe in, what you stand for, and the people that are attracted will sign up. And generally, I agree with that philosophy. Email is somewhat ruined. Everybody is offering a trade. Like, you sign up for this, you give us your email address and we'll send you this PDF about how to run your business better. You give us your email address and we'll give you 10% off. Those are so rampant that if you're not doing it, it's really, really difficult to get people to sign up for your email list these days. We've been trained to not give our email address to people unless they give us something in return for it. And so I would definitely recommend giving an offer for an email address. It's worth it because if you're running your email campaigns well, you will see that there will be a return on investment for having email addresses and using them well. So it's worth a trade for sure. And one of the things, so basics, sign up form, offer, make an offer to trade for the email address. The other thing we often recommend, not to everyone, but it works for a lot of people, is an intro series. And that's really, so Lois asked about calls to action. For Lois, for your business, something that would be great is like an intro series where someone signs up for your emails and now you send out a succession of emails, maybe one for the next 5 days. You make it very clear that that's what they're getting. And those are ways that you can educate your potential customers in what you offer. And so again, you're adding value because you're telling them about like, listen, you need to, if you study this, this is what you'll learn. This is how we think about it. And it's just this series of emails that you send out to deepen that connection with that client, with that potential customer. And so these email series are becoming more common. Just like everything else, you have to execute it well. You can't just, send 5 sales emails as your welcome series. It's not going to serve you well. But really creating a series of emails that will deepen that relationship from the start. And so I'm going to break my own rule and say, this is where I would send more than 1 email a week. You just signed up for the email list. We said, hey, when you sign up, we're going to send you a series of emails that will help educate you on our services and how they can benefit you and how, whatever it might be, whatever that offer is. But the offer is the 5 emails, is the information that's contained in those. And so that's the way you can get away with it without annoying people, is you make your sign up form and say, here's what you're trading your email address for. We're going to send you a 5-part series on XYZ. And then you get to send that welcome series. It's expected. And if you've done it well, they will feel a closer connection to your brand instead of being annoyed. So you do that intro series, and then at minimum, we talked about like normally we recommend once a week. At minimum, you have to be once a month. If you're not sending out emails once a month, you're going to be so far off of people's radar that it's going to be very difficult to really make traction with email. Now, if you're going to do it once a month, if you say that's the best I can do is once a month, then you better make sure that email is really in depth so people have a deeper connection, so that the things that they learn will stick with them longer, because they're not going to hear from you again for a month. So if you're not going to send stuff out at least once a month, I wouldn't spend time on email marketing at this point. Everyone's inbox is just way too crowded. So that's the basics. So you have your sign up form. You have to trade something for the email. An intro series is something that's interesting to trade for that email. And then getting back in front of people once a week. That's what we would recommend, at minimum once a month. That's basics. The other thing we love about email marketing is the ability to retarget. And again, I'll go back to Klaviyo and say Klaviyo's retargeting is probably the best I've seen in email marketing tools. Everything from abandoned cart recovery. So in the United States, 70% of items that are put into an online shopping cart do not get purchased. Only 30% of the time do they get purchased. And there's lots of sites that will set this up for you. Klaviyo manages this well, but they will do abandoned cart recovery. So if I go and put an item in my cart and I don't buy it, Klaviyo will send me an email with a link to my shopping cart a certain time later. And you can set it up as a series. So you send that email out, 8 hours later, you send it out 24 hours later, and you send them a discount 48 hours later, however you want to do it. But you'll see that abandoned cart recovery will increase your overall sales. Another form of retargeting is like VIP customers. So again, Klaviyo manages this, where if you have customers that are purchasing a lot, you can say, I have a VIP customer list. For that VIP customer list, and you can define what that means, then you're going to send them an additional discount, right? Like reward your really good customers, and Klaviyo manages all that list segmentation for you, so you can just send emails to those top customers. You don't have to go through and manually figure out who the top customers are, create another list, remember to send the email out. It will manage all of that for you. And the last thing with retargeting that's really interesting, and again, because Klaviyo integrates with Facebook and these web platforms, you can even retarget people that have visited your website. So if someone is, I'm logged into my web browser right now. So when I go to a website, the website knows my email address if I'm logged in. Now, a lot of people don't like this, but the reality is, and I've said this 100 times, these ads that follow you around the internet, across the board, they do surveys and everyone says, I hate them. And across the board, they convert better than any other ad out there. So our words say we hate them. Our behavior says we love them. And so you can retarget people that visit your website. Again, retarget them with value. If I know you visited my website to Sean's point earlier, and you read these 2 blog posts, I should retarget you with an with an email that will give you more in-depth information about it and say, hey, we thought you might be interested in this. And it's a deeper dive into the content that they've already been looking at. So again, basics, your sign-up form, offer something in trade for the email address. Maybe that is a 5-part intro series. Send out your emails once a week. And then if you really want to dive deeper, you could do things like abandoned cart recovery, set up VIP email lists, and retarget website visitors to really continue to deepen that relationship. So it's 9:30, but I have one more point that I have to make, and this is the most important one.
Sean is the best. I agree. Well done, Josh.
Can we get him out of here? Can we get him out of here?
Listen, I'm still waiting for my crown.
It's funny because I'm sitting in an empty room, so I'm not talking to anyone when I'm asking them to get you out of here. So you're safe. Here's the point. When you're creating an email marketing strategy, it's just like everything else that you're spending your time on. If you can't tie your email marketing back to a company objective, don't do it at all. The only reason you should be doing email marketing is because you can tie that email marketing campaign back to some other objective that you're trying to reach. And we've talked about this pyramid, our marketing pyramid that we put together. And so email marketing is a tactic. It's all the way at the top of the pyramid. And if you can't tie that tactic all the way back to an objective at the bottom, don't do it. Okay? A lot of people will tell you, you have to do email marketing. You have to post on social media. You have to have a website. None of that is true. What you have to do is run your business. And all of these things are tactics to help you run your business. If you can't figure out how to tie that tactic back to a company objective, don't spend a second of time on that tactic. Okay, so I can tell you all the ways that email marketing will work in theory. You have to figure out how to tie it to a company objective. And if you can't, don't do it until you can. Is that fair, Sean?
That is so fair.
Fair, because that's what we're about, being
well fair. Done, Joshua. Gold star.
Thanks. So if you guys have questions about email marketing, let us know. You can drop questions, comments in the post. It will come back to those even if you're watching this after the live is over. Reach out to us via email, and we will be more than happy to help you guys out and give you some information if you're stuck. We'll provide some links, of course, in the email that's going to go out next Monday about Klaviyo and things like that. But give email marketing a try. The Klaviyo account is free. You can just go in and play around with it. It is a little bit more complicated than some of the other email marketing platforms that we've used, so it is going to take you a little bit of time. They have pretty good training, but really, it's one of these things that's free. So if you're a business owner and you're sitting around complaining because you don't have enough business and you're not using free tools, then we have to have a difficult conversation, because if the tools are free and your business isn't where you want it to be, spend the time and use the free tools and figure it out. Okay. If you need help, you can always contact us. Ghostcreative.com/live for the email list. And we will see you guys on Tuesday at 9 a.m. Have a great weekend.